Hello, grade 9s. Here's our lesson on square root of rational numbers. If you haven't already done so, you should be reviewing the grade 8 math lesson on square roots, as it'll be very helpful. But here's a quick review of it. If you remember the square root number line, so remember that little song we sang in class with the square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, etc. All of these should be memorized. So the numbers at the top, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, etc., those are all called perfect squares. The numbers on the bottom are the square roots of those perfect squares. 1 to 15 has to be memorized. Okay, so the first kind of thing we did, if you remember, is estimating. You have to be able to estimate the square root of 27. Here's the three-step model. We have to identify it's between what square root, where does the answer lie between what, and it's closer to what, and you make your estimate. So example, square root 27, we know it's between 25 and 36 on our number line. So in other words, we know the answer is between 5 and 6. We know that 27 is just past 25, so the answer is going to be low. So it's closer to 5. It's going to be 5 point something, like 5.13. We can make an estimate there. Okay, that's how you do that. Square root 60, we look on the number line. We know that 60 is between the square root of 49 and square root 64. So we know that the answer is between 7 and 8, but it is closer to 8. Since 60 is very close to 64, so we make a guess something like 7.78 or something along that lines. But again, estimates, we try to be as close as we can. Finally, the square root of 134, we know that 134 is between the square root of 121 and 144. So we know that the answer is between 11 and 12, but let's see which one is closer to. So 134, from this number, it's 13 away. From this number, it's only 10 away. So I know that it's closer to this one slightly. So I have to make sure my guess indicates that it's past 11.5, something like 11 point, even something like 7, 11.7, 11.6 something. Oh, sorry, this one should be closer to 12. So my estimate would be 11.7 or 11.6 something. All right, so that's how you estimate. So again, just to hit home that square root is the opposite of squaring. So for example, 4 squared is 16. The square root of 16 is 4. Kind of works in reverse. And 6 squared is equal to 36, but square rooting 36, you get 6. So they're the opposite. All right. Next up. Here's another important thing that grade 9s need to know, reviewing. So if we had a square that had an area of 9, notice that it has 9 squares. We say it has an area of 9. It has a length of 3. It's 3 units long, 3 units wide. So area 9, length 3, we notice the connection. Square rooting 9 equals 3. In other words, if you square root the area, it will equal the length of the square. So for example, if you had a question like, if Mike has a square bedroom with an area of 138 square feet, what is its length? In order to find out the length, you square root 138, right? And you'll get your answer. And again, how to get your answer on your calculator. Some calculators you have to press square root, then the number. Some you press the number, then square root. So you have to kind of know your calculator, okay? So this one here, we know it's between square root of 121 and square root 144. It looks like it's closer to 144. So if I had to make a guess, I know it's between 11. This one's 11. This one's 12. I have to make a guess like 11.7, something like that, if I had to guess. But I could go on my calculator and check. Okay, next question is number 3. Find the square root of rational numbers. So if I ask you to find the square root of 9/25, it's very simple. We square root both the numerator and the denominator. So the square root of 9 is 3, and square root of 25 is 5. There's our answer. And why I know that is because if I take 3/5 times itself, I should get the original fraction 9/25, right? And that's what I do get. 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay? And there you go. So here, this fraction, 4/49. I square root both of those. Square root 4 and square root 49. Answer, 2/7. That's the square root of 4/49. Finally, square root of 144 over 25. Square root both of those. You get 12 over 25. And that's our final answer. Okay, so that's pretty simple. That's a new skill for grade 9. Let's say we have decimals here, 0.36, 1.96, and 2.25. You notice these three decimals have two numbers after the decimal, which means that they are hundredths, right? So I know that if I had to convert this to a fraction, all of these, they're all going to have a bottom number of 100. And so this is 36 out of 100. This is 196 out of 100. And this is 225 out of 100, right? So we convert the decimals to a fraction. And now we use the kind of the trick that we used in the first three, ABC. We square root both of these, the numerators and the denominators, and we'll get our answer. So square root of 36 is 6, and that's 10. So the square root is 6/10. Reduce also to 3/5, right? But that answer is good enough. This one here is 14 over 10. And this one here is 15 over 10. And those are the square roots. Pretty simple. Okay, so following with that, so is this a perfect square? In other words, can we take the square root of both of these numbers? Because if it is a perfect square, we should get perfect whole numbers like we did here. We should not get a decimal. We can see from the first one, square root of 18 is going to be a decimal. Whereas the square root of 25 is going to be 5. This one will be a decimal. If I had to estimate, I know it's just past the square root of 16, which is 4. So it would be like 4.15 or something like that. So you can tell right away, since this is a decimal, the answer is it a perfect square? No, it is not a perfect square. It's because when you square root the numerator, it ends up being a decimal. Can't have that. Okay, and finally, the last skill, we have perfect squares between 0 and 1. So we have a new number line here in grade 9. We go from 0 to 1, and we divide the line into tenths. 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 0.5, right in the middle, 0.6, 7, 8, 9. Now above, we have the square roots of 0, square root of 0.01, 0.04, 0.09, 0.16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81. You notice right away that those numbers are very familiar. They are perfect squares if you look at just the numerals, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. So it's actually quite simple to remember. So what we do is we look at the line, and now if I ask you to estimate point 14, we do the same thing as we did previous in the other number line. It's between what and what. Answer must be between something and something, closer to something, make your estimate. So 14 looks like it's between 0.09, 0.09, and 0.16. That means the answer is between 0.3 and 0.4. Where is 14 closest to? It's closest to this one, so it's closer to 0.4. So we make our estimate. So I know the answer has to be between 3 and 4, or if you add zeros to these, it's like between 0.30, 0.40. So it's kind of something like 0.38 or something like that. We make an estimate. Okay. 0.29 square root, so 29, there it is there. It's between 0.25 and 0.36. In other words, we know it's between 0.5 and 0.6. Which one is 29 closest to? Well, 29 is only 4 away from that, but it is 7 away from that one. So it's actually a little bit closer to 0.5 or 0.50 than it is to 0.60, right? So a little bit. So if I had to take a guess, I would say something like 0.53 or something like that, 0.54, okay? And that's no different really than what we did before, right? Last one, 0.83. So we look on our number line, 0.83. There it is. It's between, oh, I missed one right over here on this number line. So the square root of 1 is 1. So I know it's between 83 is just past this, right? So I know that 83 is between 81 and 1, which means it's between 0.9 and 1. It's closer to 0.9, again, because 83 is just past 0.9. So somewhere around there, right? So I guess, so 0.90, so it'd be like 0.92 as kind of like a little estimate there, right? So anyways, hopefully that helps you with estimating, and this is the 3-step system that I like to use, and hopefully you remember to do that when I ask you in class. It really shows your thinking. Anyways, I hope that helps grade 9s. Have a good day.